And welcome to the Wicked Awesomecast, number 179. So, today, I am joined by Charlie, aka Mordak Undivided, and I am Nomad Har, Kraken Zero, also just Henry.
I appreciate you not just fucking up in like 8 times in a row like I did last week during the intros.
And so, we are missing Alex today, and so just...
He's up there with some personal stuff.
So, yeah. So we miss him as always. We'll miss his...
Fuck that, I'm starting the rumor that you and him are the same person actually now.
Yep. But yeah. So, yeah. I was out last week.
Right. Out.
Yeah. I mean, but I gave my reasons kind of reasonably early on. So, you know what, I'll just roll right into that.
Me and Alex spent a bit of chunk of time last week trying to figure if we actually been to the thing you were at last week, and I'm not sure if it was slightly racist the way we were trying to remember. I'm like, which music thing? Is this the Japanese or the Korean one?
Well, the thing is, it's... Alright, Pacific Media Expo...
Yeah, I think it's both, technically.
It is. I mean, that's why it's Pacific Media, because it's kind of covers all of Asia. And so it doesn't, this one in particular actually makes a point to not be like only one particular region of Asia. It tries to cover a lot. And so that's the thing. So it's like this year there's a lot of Filipino stuff, actually. And so, which is very cool.
I have no idea what the music of the Philippines is like.
So yeah, there was some music from the Philippines. There was like a traditional tattoo panel, and like, let's see, traditional like fighting arts panel.
That one I actually know about.
And so that was very cool. So there again, it's like it's not just one part of Asia. So I mean, and also there's a K-pop panel, because how can you avoid that right now? It's super ridiculously popular.
This podcast is actually secretly a K-pop channel, just saying.
But yeah, I happen to know several people that are like absolutely super into K-pop. I'm not so much, because I'm not really into pop. I'm more of a metalhead and remain sort of more of a metalhead, but yeah.
The closest I get to that world is always like fucking baby metal or Amarath,
yeah,
I
same.
guess, whenever you pronounce it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And we talked about when you went to the baby metal concert.
Oh yeah, no, just yes.
But yeah, that's the thing. It's like, so, yeah, Pacific Media Expo is really about, like, greater Asian culture, not just anime, but you do get mostly anime cosplays.
I might say the media of the Pacific area.
Yes. But yeah, I that's one of the reasons I like it, because it isn't just anime, it is sort of a little more wide-ranging than that. And also, it's a bit smaller one. It's not nearly as big as the other conventions, and sort of feels more intimate, and they're in kind of a rebuilding phase right now too. But it's really cool, and I like a lot of the things that they're trying to do with it. For instance, on the they were opening up the dealer's room to the public, so
smart.
That, just smart for everybody, and also good for the dealers. It's just more people coming in that might buy your cool stuff, and so that was. So I think that's cool, a neat idea. They've been doing these side things with sort of other organizations. Like last year, they did something with like basically Asians in entertainment, and so they had several panels on Sunday specifically all about that. So it's like you had the cast of Steven Universe, which is mostly Asian, and you had and then they had another panel with just people who had been in TV and movies and stuff like that talking about it. And this year they did like I said, there's the with the stuff from the music from the Philippines, and they had several musicians in partnership with a radio station. I can't remember the radio station right now. Wish FM, maybe? But in any case, that's who they were partnering with to bring in these musicians. And so it's a collection of some pretty cool musicians. So I got to hear, one of them in particular has had like current number ones in the Philippines, and so he came and performed, and that was cool. Yeah, so there is, and I attend. That's the thing. Like I go to these conventions to attend panels, and I attended a lot of very cool panels this time around. The another thing, so I met this kind of popular cosplayer named Tara Azarian. I think, yeah, that's how to pronounce her last name. I got a picture with her, so that's
yeah, I saw the picture of it.
Yeah, that's on my Instagram, Kraken Zero, ZER0. And so, yeah, and she's an interesting person. She's also has made it a point to be representative of people with disabilities. She has a number of, I mean, this is on her website and stuff like that. Various health issues that basically affect what she's able to do, and how just things with her heart and stuff like that that have a big effect on what she's capable of doing, and to some extent, and how much energy she has from day to day, and so she's made it a point to sort of be for representation, and I think that's super cool. And she also ran a panel on that as well. And yeah, I thought that was really neat, a really neat idea. She's also an excellent cosplayer. She makes her own costumes, and like every part of her own costumes. And so, like, the picture I have with her is a character from My Hero Academia, and it's like, that's just a dead-on perfect costume. It's just exactly like Himiko Toga. It's a major character in My Hero Academia. And yeah, so that was also very cool. But yeah, there's just a lot of cool panels. The dealer's room is a lot smaller than others there, again, because it's a smaller con. But a lot of cool artists showing their wares. So it was more, I'd say even more artists than like shops there.
That's cool.
And so there's a lot of cool artwork being shown. Alright, so if you've been following me on Instagram or on Facebook or on Twitch, then you would see that I've been working on a costume for Pacific Media Expo. I was working on a character from My Little Pony, which the current generation like animation ended this year. As far as there's not going to be any more seasons of the current generation, third generation this is. So I made a Discord costume, Discord for My Little Pony, and that was kind of a big hit. A lot of people recognized it. And so a human version of Discord, so it was kind of my own take on it. And it wasn't as like demanding as some other costumes I've worked on, because I only had a week to work on it. I only gave myself a week. I kind of had the idea. I was like, oh, I'll dress up as this. I looked in my closet. There's a few things I have that would already kind of work. And then just a few things else just needed to paint up. So I painted some shoes to be his kind of different matching legs that he has. So, all right. So if you don't know who Discord is like, you can kind of check it out. He's a Draconiquus who is kind of has mismatched parts because he's a kind of a god of chaos, very much sort of a Loki type, or a kind of like that. And he's also voiced by Q of Star Trek fame, that voice actor, John Delancey. And it's kind of cool. So a little aside here, the character was created to be like Q, as a kind of a superpowered being who's kind of a little bit, but it's just mischievous, not evil, not malicious, just you just like kind of so, well, Discord. And so they created the character, like the show's creator created the character, and then they were like, hey, this is like Q, let's see if Q actually wants to voice this character. And John Delancey was totally into it. He's like, yeah, sure. And he liked voicing the character, and he liked kind of the community so much that he made a movie about bronies. Or just My Little Pony fandom in general. So that's how much he really connected with it. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, he's basically just playing Q, a slightly, I guess, somewhat nicer version of Q, but still very much Q, the way he's written. So I dressed up as, a human version of that character. And the main thing I worked on for that was, painting a few items, collected a few things from Goodwill, and I also made the horn. So he has kind of mismatched horns as well. One of them is this weird bulbous goat hornish type of thing, and the other one is an antler. And so I made those out of thermoplastic. Are you familiar with thermoplastic?
I need more context than just the name is the real answer.
It's plastic that has a very low melting point, that basically all you have to do is boil it. Even less than boiling. It's not even as high as boiling. But boiling water will basically soften it so you can work it, in a sense, a bit like clay.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know that.
Until it cools down. Yeah, it comes in as a bunch of tiny beads that you just kind of can dump into a big container of boiled water, and it just kind of turns clear and softens up, and then you can kind of work it. And so this one was kind of tricky because I wanted to make one of the horns, or I needed to make one of the horns hollow, because otherwise it would be way too heavy on my head, and it would also be completely off balance with the other horn, which was much smaller. So that's the thing. Thermoplastic it can be very tricky to work with. And I wasn't using any sort of filling there. Again, I needed it to be very light. So I didn't even put any foam filling or anything like that, because that could have made it easier where I worked around the general shape. But this, I was just kind of working it hollow, kind of like the way you'd make a pot. And so that it turned out pretty well in the end, but it was pretty difficult. I mean, if anybody wants to see how that went, you can go to my Twitch channel and there's VODs of it up. And so, you can kind of see the difficulty with that. And then the other horn was easy. It was just an antler. And so I made that one just solid. And so that one was relatively, way easier to do. I did that one really quickly, whereas the hollow horn took quite a while. And I did that all on the Friday night before it, so I didn't have much time. I needed to finish it. But I did in time, and I was pretty happy with the way the costume in general turned out. And so, my beard as white worked out perfectly for the costume. He has a completely white just beard.
Sure.
So that was actually kind of cool.
I know nothing of this character, so.
Yeah, the second day I revived another My Little Pony costume that I'd used before, Twilight Sparkle. So, but the Discord one was completely new. But I was very happy with the way it turned out. So, other things I did was I played a new game. Played a game. Well, I say new. I got it free off the Epic Store some weeks ago, or maybe longer than that. Nuclear Throne, which is this sort of roguish game. Have you played it before?
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's one of many games that I've kind of picked up for free.
Sorry, what's the name again?
Nuclear Throne.
Oh, yeah, I know of it. I think I've played enough to have, I know it's a roguelike, and I think I touched it, but not much beyond that. So I thought you said for a second. My brain just had a moment.
Yeah, top-down shooter. Pretty fun. Very short game. I kind of wish it was a little longer than it was.
I've heard there's some depth you can explore if you want. There's options that make it a much longer game.
Maybe mods or something. I don't know. But the game as it stands is not a long game to go completely through. Maybe you can go through go through the entire game in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and, in comparison with some other proper roguelike that can take hours and hours. But, it's cool. I used it, twin stick shooter style.
Yeah.
You can also play it with mouse and keyboard, but I found it more fun to play twin stick shooter style. But, that was cool. And it runs fine on my system. So, that's kind of the other requirement. But, I enjoy roguelikes a lot. I mean, I've made that very clear on this podcast, that I enjoy roguelikes a ton. And so, that was kind of fun diversion. I'll probably play it some more, every so often. But, It's just as, frustratingly unfair as a roguelike should be to a certain extent. So yeah, it's pretty fun. So, but that's, I mean, I hadn't, other than that, that's kind of what I've done for the past couple of weeks. Pacific Media Expo, like I said, I took up a lot of my free time just putting together the costume the week before, so that's kind of what I did for that week. But yeah, so what about you? How's your week?
I chose to play the most controversial game of the year, it seems. I played Pokemon Sword. I went with Sword because Wolf with a Sword is cooler than Wolf with a Shield main, I guess. As someone who did not like the last Pokemon game that much because it was getting a little up its own ass with its own story, I'm enjoying this one a little bit more than I did Sun and Moon, but not as much. I think I enjoyed X and Y, but also like X and Y had been easily the first Pokemon game I played in close to a decade, so a lot of what that game did, like, I've gotten the impression from a lot of people that game is viewed as kind of like the last high point of the franchise, if you will, and Sun and Moon tried to do some cool stuff. Like that one shook the formula up in a major way. Like it did away with gyms, which I wasn't a big fan of. And this game brings the gyms back in kind of a cool way, I guess. We'll get to that in a second. I am far enough removed from Pokemon that I don't know like when the shift from having a rival that you kind of fucking hated to like they're your frenemy / they're your friend that pushes you to do better, and I fucking hate it. But like there are some really smart decisions made in Pokemon Sword and Shield that I think are big steps forward for the franchise. I don't care about stuff like how the Pokedex now can't be completed and some of the models are reused and shit like that. I'm just happy I can play the game on my couch on my TV. Like I actually have written in my notes where I want to slap/punch the Pokemon community because trying to look up anything about like which version of this game you should get leads you into just fucking saltiest of deep dive minds where it's people being like, it's like, oh, they took so and so out of the game, and I'm like, did they take the garbage Pokemon out of the game? Yeah. Who cares? After I caught my first 3 Rattatas, I'm like, I never want to catch a Rattata ever again. No, I need to complete the Pokedex. Do you? Do you really? Do you need to import your fucking like S-tier Rattata you've been carrying across 9 games to feel complete? Is that what you need to feel whole? If it is, okay, cool, I'm not going to yuck your yum on this one, but, like, shut the fuck up, too. your sexual fetishization of having a complete Pokedex should not be something to talk about online in this much detail. Like, I get it, some of you are completionists. You can fill out the in-game Pokedex.
The tagline is literally, gotta catch them all.
When you have 700 plus monsters, which I think is the number we're at this point, maybe it's time for some to go extinct. Just saying.
Apparently a few of them have been kind of eaten to the close of extinction. Which is kind of funny, I think.
Yeah, and I'm really enjoying this game. I think it does some fun stuff. Like, I don't think the starting Pokemon are super great this time around. Like, there are some legit gripes you can have with this game. Like I've had some weird technical issues with the game. The lack of voice acting of any kind, even just some like Simish bullshit or something, seems weird now that I can play this game on my TV. Like when it was a handheld and I had my sound off at all times, it didn't matter to me. And increasingly, it now seems kind of weird to just do the text box field. I get why you would do that, ways you translate, etc., but, like, I would be okay with just kind of like a Charlie Brown what or something when characters are talking to you, because this is probably my most, like, old man yells at Cloud, okay boomer moment while playing this. I remember back when the story of Pokemon was, you were, like, some young teenager / 10-year-old, like something in that range, that went off and like got involved in like taking down a terrorist organization / criminal organization ghost busting. Like, the story of Pokemon was, I'm gonna do all these things so I can go around and fuck shit up with my increasingly, like, parallel to God level Pokemon kind of thing. Like, the fact at the end of Red and Blue, you were a fucking, like, not 20-year-old walking around with, like, the 3 weather god birds, a genetic monstrosity, and, like, several other Pokemon just, like, casually shoved in a bank. They're like, this Pokemon is the god of nature. Not a god of nature, the god of nature. I miss the simplicity of that. Like, I've missed Team Rocket since they went away, kind of thing. Like, all the teams since, I think, have been garbage. Team Skull or whatever the fuck they were called, and some of them are just like fucking burnout Beat Boys. That was kind of funny, but like, I think it was like Black and White had a cool set of villains again, but like this like slow degradation of the antagonistic groups to like what they are now in Sun and Moon and Sword and Shield, where it's, yeah, these guys are just like super fucking hardcore fans for this one person, and they're assholes as a result of that. I'm like, okay, I like that, because this is the first Pokemon game to like actively shit talk the Pokemon like hardcore community, I think, a little bit. And I appreciate any time a game like canonically is like, man, these streamers and their like hardcore dedication fans are the worst.
Feeling called out.
If you were like a hardcore Pokemon streamer, specifically like a person with like a very like militaristic and or aggressive following, you should feel personally attacked by this game. Like, the Team Yell are quite literally just like hardcore super fans of this one other Pokemon trainer who you like. I'm on my 4th gym in the game. I've encountered them like 3 or 4 times. I've met the person they're like fucking hardcore into once, and they are just the most fucking neckbeardy, like, waifu worshipping motherfuckers ever. And every time I fight them, I'm like, yes! Now go put on some deodorant, you fuckers. Overall, I'm having fun with the game. Like, the whole Scotland vibe is kind of neat. Like, I'm enjoying this Pokemon game where I enjoyed Sun and Moon. Like, I guess it's like important to have this was a like recent low point for me. Like, I really liked X and Y. This one brings the Dynamaxing, Gigantamaxing, aka making Pokemon gigantic, which just feels like another version of. They weren't called X attacks. That was the Sun and Moon thing, which were also kind of cool. These like the Mega Evolutions, where your Pokemon can just get cooler and new moves based on what the moves were. It's essentially that, just.
So it's Digimon.
Yeah. Well, that's what Mega Evolution was. It was a temporary, like, super boost to your character. This is your character literally summons a, like, basketball-sized neon pink, like, data Pokeball, throws it over their head, and your Pokemon scales up to, like, fucking Godzilla size, which, if you're like me and you build teams of Godzillas, and that's what you do in Pokemon games, like, you only, like, build teams around what you think are cool, like, not optimization. It's like, no, I'll just beat anything I need to death with, like, a 10-level advantage on it kind of thing. Like, fuck, like, it's like, no, I want a team of dragons and straight-up murderers, yo. You wind up with, like, just some kind of ridiculous. I have something called like Carhole or something. It started off as essentially like a unicycle of rock, and then it turned into like this barrel of coal with like a demon face on it. And it's great at giant form because it's this like giant, ghoulish, like big murder happy smiley face. It's just on fire, and you're like, "Yup, that's some nightmare fuel. Go murder things." And I guess to rewind some, like the story of this game, at least I can piece together so far, is it's back to being about the gym battle climb, I guess is the way of thinking of it. There's no like parallel dimension Pokemon breaking through. There's no weird government conspiracy. You are just in, I think it's Garland is how you pronounce it, I'm not totally sure, which is like the Scotland, upcountry, UK parts of the Pokemon world kind of thing, where like there's a fucking ton of sheep Pokemon, and the shit to watch on TV are the gym battles. Like, it's the gym battles have kind of a cool, like, Ninja Warrior puzzle to them, and then, like, the actual gym battles are sprinkled out, and then the final boss is this big, like, arena battle. It feels cool. Like, it's got some of that Pokemon Stadium DNA in there, where it feels big, and, like, a shit ton of people are watching this happen in the middle of a stadium, and it's being televised. And it's neat to feel like that again while playing a Pokemon game, but also, like, you get out there in, like, your shitty esports jersey to fight the Pokemon for gym battles, and I think that is also great. Like, the game straight up asks you at one point, like, what number do you want in the back of your jersey for official battles? Now I'm like, fuck yes, this is amazing.
Yeah, it sounds like they're kind of trying to go back to the roots. It's like they've done a lot of exploring with different types of stories, and now it's just back to, you're a Pokemon trainer that wants to be the very best.
It definitely feels like that, and I appreciate... I like this new kind of gym battle system they're doing. I think it's kind of a cool idea. Like, the vibe of it is neat. I fucking hate how they handle your rival in this game. Like, I miss back in the days where, like, it was Gary from Pokemon or Blue, whatever the fuck his name was, for your game, and, like, he was just a raging asshole to you. Like, you never liked the dude, and, like, you were gonna overcome to, because fuck him. Hop is this incredibly annoyingly, like, we're gonna make each other better because we're rivals. And I'm like, ah, yes, the shitty modern definition of rival, where it's like, frenemy. No, I want the old school version of Pokemon Rival, where you're like, man, I will fucking slit that fucker's throat when he turns his back. And throw him off this SSN. Like, this fucker heals your Pokemon before you battle. No, I want this dude sneaking up being like, I know you just cleared out an entire boat of Team Rocket people, but I want to fight now. You have an advantage. Yeah, fuck you. That's the rival I want from Pokemon. And, like, you kind of had that X and Y, because the rival was this just incredibly bitchy character that's like, fuck you. And I'm like, fair, I respect this. This is what real rivalry is. And then this one's like, no, we're best friends. I'm like, fuck you, Hop. Get the fuck away from me. I am building a team to target your ass. What's this? Oh, I picked the Pokemon that's weak to your Pokemon for a starter. Bullshit. Yeah, no, I'm having fun with it. Probably, like, there's the dungeon raid things, which feel kind of Pokemon Go with a, like, traditional Pokemon battle system. They're the social kind of combat activity you can do. I have not really engaged with that much. The wild areas are the big kind of revolution of this game, and the wild area is really a cool idea. So where this game differs from other previous games, you can see the Pokemon wandering around, like, physically the models are there wandering the tall grass, which is easier to avoid fights if you want, or you can get a better sense of what you're about to be fighting, kind of thing. Like, you see the Pokemon on the map, which is cool. There's a shit ton of them, and makes you kind of wonder where it's like, man, there are so many of this, quote, crazy rare Pokemon just in this grass right here. Like, where's the SWAT team of scientists being like, where the fuck did all these come from? But I digress. The wild areas are cool. Like, you wander around, like, that's where all the weather happens. Like, it's the most dynamic of the spaces. It's the only space with camera rotation control. It's the open world part of this open world Pokemon game. Like, if you can see it, you can go to it, kind of thing. And there will be weird, like, different zones to it, and it changes as you kind of traverse terrain. And it's this just big, wide open field area where you can kind of encounter anything. Like, it's a great place where, if you get a good spawn of it, you'll get a good, like, plethora of, like, oh, I can fill in some team holes I have right now and stuff. I'm incredibly impressed. I think it's really cool. I think it's in a game that tries to do lots of things. I think the giant Pokemon thing is kind of lame. If you hadn't had that and had, like, another wild zone or two, or, like, maybe I just haven't gone to it, like, more diversity in the, like, the biomes available to it, kind of thing, I'd be really interested. Like, this is also a Pokemon game that's done away with needing to carry an HM slave Pokemon. Like, there are ways to surf. Your bike has, like, a off in the water mode. You get, like, a flying taxi pass super early on in the game, so you can fly around. Like, it's no longer like, man, I gotta keep this, like, fucking Sand Slash on because he's got Rock Smash, Cut, and Dig on him all the time, kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, getting rid of that smart, so you just have a team of Pokemon that are actually good at what they do, kind of thing. I'm having a lot of fun with the game. The internet wants me not to have a lot of fun with the game. Like,
Hmm.
I'm not going to go into the hardcore depths of the game, I guess. Like, I don't believe in competitive Pokemon, but like some of the guys I raid with in Destiny, they're also playing the game. We're swapping stuff back and forth and having fun with it. Like, as someone who thinks Pokemon and video games in general should be fun first and competitive maybe second, like, you can have both,
Yes.
and you can have competitive fun. The outrage surrounding this game feels kind of shitty. Like, if you want to make a Pokemon game that was devoid of all the, like, bullshit Pokemon no one really cares about, like, your Rattatas, your... basically everything from the first zone of every game, I'd be like, okay, cool, fuck it, who cares kind of thing. Like, there are whole swaths of Pokemon that, like, you just kind of cut from the franchise. Only people that are really into, like, completionist lists would care, I think. And I fully admit to not being a giant hardcore Pokemon fan, but I have yet to, like, feel as though something is missing. Like, I think it's still garbage that we have two versions and all the Pokemon can't be got in one game. Kind of, that kind of pisses me off at this point, but it's keeping with tradition at that point.
Well, it made more sense on the Game Boy.
Yeah!
Because it's so limited memory on a cartridge.
Oh no!
So it's like Red and Blue existed because we literally can't put every single Pokemon on a single cartridge and still have a game that you can play.
Yeah, I do not believe the space limitations are the driving factor anymore.
No.
Yes. A lot of the things I think people hold on to as, like, traditional staples of this franchise, as someone who is not, like, a perpetual Pokemon player, I'm kind of like, fuck it, who cares? Like, but at the same time, I understand, like, I'm not going to get into IV training, like, I get it, you people want, like, these games to be the way they are, and I respect that, but as someone who, like, just plays these games for fun, they were getting a little bit ridiculous, and nostalgic's the wrong word, but I'm not sure I necessarily want a long, kind of convoluted story from Pokemon. Like, I just want to do the gym challenge kind of thing. I just want to run the gym, and if you can make that path mildly interesting, cool. Like, if you're making the Pokemon story I want, like, you play as, like, a fucking teenager to a young adult who's like... What this game finally explains in a really cool way is... and it doesn't explain it directly, kind of, it hints at this, is the idea that, like, no, you're actually really good at this Pokemon thing. It's not, like,
You're not Ash.
You're not Ash, you're just real, like, you are Ash to a certain extent, like, but also it's the story surrounding the gym challenge outlines this idea of, like, yeah, a bunch of people never make it past the first gym challenge. Like, it was always kind of the weirdness of the Pokemon games where it's like, okay, do some people just, like, never make it past Brock because, like, being a Pokemon trainer really seems to be a good profession. Like,
yeah.
And this game kind of like, yeah, no, like the first two gym battles in this game are whatever. Like, the first guy's literally just straight up a farmer for most of his time. And he's like, yeah, I do this Pokemon thing because I can kind of thing, whatever. And then the third gym battle is like, no, I'm the roadblock. Like, it's the anyone who beats me is, like, serious into this shit. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, so it sets the stakes down, I guess, at that point. Like, to the point where, like, after the gym battle's over, they have a cinematic of the first three gym bosses coming out and being like, yeah, so you made it past the first hurdle. Cool. Like, most people don't make it this far.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I think that's good storytelling.
It plays with the stakes of, like, no, you're actually really fucking good at this. Like, it's your friendship bond or whatever with your Pokemon is a rarity in our world where, like, yeah, we fucking have fields of these sheep and shit, but, like, you are capable of getting more out of your Pokemon than most other people are, kind of thing. Like, it sounds dumb, I know, but it sets cool stakes of the world. Of, like, no,
it sounds amazing.
Yeah,
because I'm just thinking of the people that are awful at dealing with their Pokemon. So it's like they're like, I choose you, Squirtle, and Squirtle just kind of walks around in a circle and goes to sleep. And just kind of, poops in a corner, and it's just like...
It ties in kind of the idea of the show, where it's like... most people... Yeah, it ties in the idea of, like... No, in the show, Pokemon are often, like, either more wild animals or more, like, having a shit ton of cats. They're domesticated, but, like, you can't make them do shit when you want. This game kind of plays with the idea of like, yeah, no, we fucking eat the sheep Pokemon. Why? They're fucking sheep. The fact that my nephew can make them fight effectively is kind of weird. We're gonna televise it, but like, it's not something most people can do.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's really cool because I don't think they've ever really focused on that. Like you said, that if you're a Pokemon trainer to get this far, you are actually super unique because most people can't even get their Pokemon to not poop in the corner of their room.
It drives home this idea of, like, I know it sounds dumb. I'm sure I'm the wrong person definitely to be talking about, like, Pokemon lore, but have a game finally kind of just flat out say, yeah, the reason a bunch of people have, like, fucking Rattatas as pets isn't because they want a Rattata, it's because that's their level of Pokemon ability kind of thing. Like, it's, like, Pokemon are fucking dangerous to most people. It's why we fucking shove so many of them away in, like, power plants and shit.
Yeah, I just want to see an anime of people that are awful with their Pokemon, people that actually truly suck at dealing with their Pokemon.
I've only read it a couple times, and it does seem to line up with this. Like, the Pokemon manga, where the main character is just straight up called Red, is gritty in that way. Like, in that one, I've gotten the impression, like, Team Rocket is full on, like, a terrorist organization. Like, they use electrodes as, like, self-detonation devices and shit. Like, they are straight up doing, like, merc-ass shit. Like, they will murder you to steal your Pokemon and shit like that.
But I want to see the people that are the ones that can't get past even the first gym because their Pokemon just kind of goes in circles and then, like, bites their leg and pees on a tree.
And that's what I'm getting at. That's what this manga is about. Like, it's the idea that, like, not everyone is a good Pokemon trainer. Like, it's full of lots of, like, one-sided fights of someone having, like, quote, a strong Pokemon and no control over them. And it's like, okay, yeah, I fought a bunch of people that were basically swimmers later on. It's like, no, they're swimmers and, like, their Pokemon are borderline feral, potentially. Like, or, like, you're just fighting the Pokemon that were around them at the time. Like, it's interesting. It doesn't totally kind of explain how this entire world works, but it does set a stakes for the environment I enjoyed, I guess. Like, the idea that, like, no, you're really fucking good at this. We're finally saying it. It's not like just like it's the not everyone gets this far, and we know we keep saying like not everyone makes it to the Elite Four kind of thing, but you sure seem to get here pretty easily to a certain extent. It's like, no, these are roadblocks. We will flat out say, yeah, most people don't get this far. It's why we televise it, kind of thing.
Yeah, I just want to see the person who's like, I choose you, Charizard, and he just pops out and just sets you on fire. Just sets the guy on fire.
That was the anime for a chunk of time, but. Yeah, there's some other smart changes. I'm not sure when they changed it, but now, at least as far as I know, your gym badges don't dictate what level Pokemon you can control. They dictate what level Pokemon you can capture. So if you're like me and you have a couple kind of fucking hitters in your team, you just use a bunch. You don't have to let them over-leveling you, where it's like, I'm fucked because I played too much of this game. Shit. It's like, no, you just can't catch stuff at that level. Okay, that makes more sense. They're loyal sons of bitches still. Yeah, I overall like the game. I think, like, I don't like my Switch still by quite a large margin. Like, I still think it's a not great system, and I think that this game kind of shows, again, some of the weird limitations of the Switch. I flat up lost 3 hours, like, of progress at one point. The game auto-saves for you by default, and that makes certain things like catching legendaries a little more kind of problematic and stuff, so you can turn it off and enable manual saving. But then I had something happen that I'd never had happen on a Game Boy previously. I had the fucking Switch, like, crash out on me. And now I have auto-saving turned back on because I lost 3 hours of progress.
Whoa, I'll say this, I have rarely seen a modern console properly crash, like, game-wise. Like, I haven't seen that in quite a while. I mean, it's consoles have become increasingly kind of stable for the most part, as have games for consoles, but
this is probably just kind of where I come at from every Switch game at this point, but, like, this game especially feels like, what would this game be like if we were on a more powerful console. Like, what could this game have been if you could throw kind of the internet infrastructure of the PS4, the Xbox One, or the PC at a Nintendo property? Like, what is the Monster Hunter world of the Pokemon franchise like, kind of thing? Like, it's because the jump of what that game was from its predecessors is insane. Like, it's do you get like that full-on Pokemon Stadium vibe kind of thing? Like, do you get Pokken-style combat finally in a mainstream Pokemon-style game? Like, it's what does a game with just that much raw power behind it look and feel and play like, is something I will never get an answer to, but desperately want. Yeah, overall I like the game. It's got kind of a cool look to it. It's Pokemon. Like, it's not going to win any graphical awards kind of thing, but the Pokemon it look good. The moves look cool. The super giant stuff I think is silly, but it's also kind of fun when you do it in the gym battles. So yeah, it is yet another Pokemon game. Like, it's a bit more kind of return to form than the predecessors, I think. Like, this is a little more in line with kind of the typical Pokemon game. There's not some kind of weird sci-fi background. Oh, there kind of is, like, about to have the Pokemon go giant. Part of me almost wishes we get a game where it's like, okay, we're making the dream of, like, we're doing Gold again with HD graphics and kind of a bunch of the modern conveniences. So you just go from, like, the Johto region to the Kanto region, or whatever the fuck the two regions that originally in Pokemon are called. Like, you have the entire fucking world to play around in, and then we'll fucking start bolting on other locations as time goes on. Like, Pokemon the MMO is something I would be very curious about. And, like, this is kind of close to, like, it has a nice open world feel to it. Like, it feels like you're in the world of Pokemon, down to it flat out just confirms people eat fucking Pokemon in this world. Like, Slowpoke tail is a thing you eat. Several of the fish Pokemon you can catch are a thing you just fucking eat.
Which I love that fact, honestly. That, you know, I picked up on that now they've made it. They've always hinted at it. I don't remember if they've actually just let you make food out of Pokemon before. And now you can just do that, apparently. You can just make food out of Pokemon. Make curries, in particular. Yeah,
there's always been stuff, but, like, this game kind of fully just lifts the veil and goes, yeah, we get it. Like, this game is straight up dogfighting. Like, it's one of those ones where it's like, no. The squirrels you encounter are just fucking squirrels. This is just a world where you can, like, mentally communicate with squirrels and make them do something once you catch them in a trap, kind of thing. Like, it's how the biology of this world works, kind of thing. Like, you form that spirit bond, if you will. Like, sure, we got fire squirrels, but also, like, no, it's just, this is the world you live in, kind of thing. Like, and it all starts to play with the idea where it's like, no, and most of the things don't make it past their, like, basic form. Like, it requires that human element, or they're just fucking badass monsters to get to those larger forms, kind of thing. Like, it's weird. Like, the whole idea of most people fucking suck at Pokemon helps explain the idea of, like, why there aren't just fucking Tyrannitars running around everywhere. It's like, no, it require, like, Tyrannitars are rare, and the fact that you managed to train your Tyranitar at all is a fucking impressive feat, kind of thing. Like, the fact that you managed to get one of these monster demon mountain-eating Pokemon to go through the process of metamorphosis into that thing is nuts. Like, only the badasses of the badassest in the wild do that.
Yeah, which just makes sense, because otherwise the world would just be, like, unlivable for humans. It'd just be like, yeah, just imagine if everything was Mega Evolutions walking around. Yeah, you wouldn't see humans walking around, I'll say that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, there again, it makes more sense that, most Pokemon never evolve, period. They just are in their base form until they pass.
And I think it's kind of, like, and that's mostly what the kind of wild areas are. Like, you occasionally have, like, a high-level badass wandering around. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like, the leader of this pack of what's it called? Growlithes would be the one that evolved into an Arcanine. Got it. And, like, it's appropriately badass ranked and stuff. Like, it's got special moves, it's powerful, like, I fought an Onix early on that was, like, a 35-level Onix. I'm, like, there with my level 15 team. I'm like, shit, yeah, this makes sense. But I digress. as someone who does not care that much about the Pokemon games, who's like, yeah, I'll play this one. I got a trip coming up in the future. I could use something to play on a plane. I like it, but also, like, if you're someone that cares about, no, they all have to be there, maybe ask yourself why, and, like, then go buy this if you like Pokemon. Like, there are, like I said, there are several valid criticisms about this game in my book. Like, technically the game's not doing much. Like, the world does feel pretty empty at times. But also, it's been every fucking Pokemon game to date. Like,
well, what was the one that was more recent where you could actually see the Pokemon
this one has
walking
that.
around?
This one has that. Like, it's
okay.
I'm talking about in the town centers. It's like, yep, here's some buildings. Like, there's not a lot to do in Pokemon games, especially this one, except fucking murder other Pokemon. And, like, if you're looking for more than that, like, you're just put the whole, like, camping thing is cool. You can play fetch with your Mons, and that's it. And you can make them delicious curry, and that's kind of neat. But, like, that's about it. Like, previous games had, like, whole grooming things you could do to them after battles and stuff. And it's like, I'm gonna go camping now. That'll be fun. I hang out with a bunch of murder creatures, and like, you want some curry made from instant ramen noodles? They're like, yeah! Then we'll play fetch.
Or you want some curry made of others of you?
As someone who has strongly always believed that Magikarp is delicious, none of this surprises me. Like, everything eats Magikarp in that world, I assume. Yeah, I don't know. I like the game, but again, I'm not like the hardcore Pokemon fan base. Like, it's as someone who came back to this being like, why the fuck am I playing this? Oh, right, podcast, and there's a weird amount of controversy around the fucking Pokemon game. I'm having fun. But, like, I know one of my cousins was like, fuck that, they took too much out, and I'm like, okay, cool. Weirdo. But, yeah, that's been mostly what I've been up to. I did some VR stuff at a industry event thing that made me mildly motion sick, which further confirms just how impressive some of the other VR stuff we've talked about in the past. Like, that arcade-level VR fucks with me still. Like, I want to vomit now in your helmet. Congratulations. News?
News.
Just want to start with the big news for you, Henry, this week, which is the Sonic movie.
Sure.
Alright, so we got the Sonic movie is new Sonic. It looks good. We can thank one of the artists behind that Sonic
Mania, right?
Sonic Mania, yeah, that fan game that kind of just fucking people like, yeah, this is the best Sonic game made in decades kind of thing.
Yeah, well, it was made by Sega ultimately.
Yeah, but like it was developed by a not Sega group.
Yeah,
a little more complicated than normal Sonic development, I guess.
But I mean, I think the biggest one of the biggest takeaways here, and I've seen at least a few people remark on it, is they listened to feedback from the fans. Like, they didn't just like, kind of hand wave it off and like, yeah, you'll learn to like it. No, they're like, all right, we'll just completely redo this. And that's no small feat. That's that's a ton of extra work. Like, I mean, so yeah, that's a lot of film. They have to re-stick in a brand new character model. Yeah. And so, and he looks great. He looks good. I mean, they've gone, well, when it first happened, I talked about the, uncanny valley effect. And to get out of it, you have to either go way more realistic or way more not realistic. And so they went the cartoony route. He looks more like a cartoon, and that's fine. Yeah, they've stepped out of weird, kind of the weird uncanny valley by just going more cartoony, which, there again, that's what the fans wanted, and they did it. And so it's like, I think you have to give them a lot of credit for taking the feedback and not just hand-waving it off. So, and now I watched the new trailer, and he looks good. He's animated well. He has the personality. I mean, I think it's going to be a fun movie. Yeah, I mean,
as someone who does not care about this movie at all, it looks better now, at least. So
I was definitely going to watch it anyways, but now I'm absolutely going to watch it.
Thank you, Tyson Hesse. I don't pronounce your name. Sorry, man.
But I think that's cool, very cool. But yeah, it's an example of a company listening to its fans. Blizzard.
Where to go from here? Sadly, Alex is not here for more Anthem news, if you will, because it's his favorite game to say it's dead, Charlie, too. So nothing's been super confirmed yet, but a bunch of outlets this week kind of ran stories about how there are some pretty credible rumors rolling around that there's going to be kind of a Anthem 2.0 launch, not an Anthem 2, a full relaunching of Anthem the game, which, again, as someone who recognizes that game's many flaws, but also still thinks the core idea of that game's actually really fucking good, I'm excited for this. I'll believe it when I see it, but a bunch of there's enough buzz on this topic that it seems we're gonna get a Realm Reborn relaunch of Anthem, which would be really cool. There are ideas in that game as a live service game and as kind of a loot shooter I don't want to see die yet. The Iron Man aspecting of that game is cool, but yeah, despite every fucking sign pointing to the alternative, just people leaving, apparently there's still signs of life, so yeah. No official kind of comments from EA itself, just kind of wild speculation rumors, so yeah, it's weird to realize that game came out in the year we're still talking right now.
Yeah. And then, it was declared dead and then declared for a possible revival now. That's
what happened. That is what happened to Realm Reborn. That's what happened to Final Fantasy, 14 technically? It's not totally insane, but it feels like we've been talking about how that game has been dead for at least a year, not a little over half a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you want to tackle next?
I don't know.
Let's do another couple quick ones. The Bungie kind of fundraiser, the Bungie Cares thing, through Game to Give, they raised $1.6 million for charity.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
To do kind of on their own without, it really was just Bungie that did this. And they at least also provide something you can unlock in-game rewards.
It's a real cool ghost shell that I just lost track of time, so I couldn't get it. And also didn't support them through this, unfortunately.
But yeah, it's kind of they're hey, well done on actually doing good, Bungie.
Yeah.
Yep. Good thing you're not a part of Blizzard anymore.
They're never part of Blizzard. They're part of Activision.
Or Activision.
Yeah. It's just their launcher. Yeah. Where to go? Let's do some releases, I guess. I'm not sure how this made it onto the list, except I'm weirdly curious about this game. Bleeding Edge, that Ninja Theory multiplayer game that we got the weird pictures from E3 last year, that's just got some real personality behind it, has a release date of March 24th, 2020.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah. It's not clear what the fuck that game is still, but...
Yeah. I mean, it looks like there's a lot of melee combat, and that's mainly... And that interests me. I like games with melee combat, to be perfectly honest.
So the weirdest thing is, and I have no idea what happened to it, a couple years back, Bethesda unveiled this... I think it was primarily third person, but it was a hero shooter that was primarily melee focused kind of thing. It was League, but real close in kind of thing. Maybe in first person a couple instances. I don't remember. And it was at 2 E3s, and that just fucking vanished. And I played that game at E3, and
was that Smite?
I think it was called Battle Cry or something. It kind of had almost a nondescript Asian martial art inspiration to it. The classes were the three factions were kind of Russian Asian look, Japanese Asian look, and kind of generic Chinese Asian warrior look kind of thing. A little weird in that category, especially given that they were colored armies. But it was guys with just giant telephone pole weapons versus people with claw things, and they had pretty distinct abilities and stuff like that. And it was a capture the flag or zone control mode kind of thing. I remember thinking it was cool. And it never came anywhere.
Yeah, it just kind of disappeared. I guess it never really caught on.
I never came out.
Oh, did it not come out at all? Oh.
It's not that I'm familiar with.
Weirder. Yeah. In any case, we got Bleeding Edge, though.
Yeah. I think it was Battle Cry.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I just looked it up. So that
Yep.
was a thing that didn't happen.
Yeah.
All right. So should we go into positive or negative or neutral?
Let's do 10
I could
cent.
do.
Let's do the 10 cent
Okay. All
block.
right. All right. So we got three news about Tencent. So
It's kind of the
seems
same news in different forms.
yeah. So and we've been reporting on them for a while. Like I've kind of made it a point to from just a kind of very business sense, business perspective, what they're doing and why it makes sense. And yeah, apparently whatever they're doing has been ridiculously lucrative. I mean, they made $4 billion just in the third quarter by
Surprise,
itself.
surprise, loyal listeners, Tencent is killing it.
Yeah. So they are absolutely destroying it. I mean, they've got a major partnership with Nintendo, which is huge.
Let's remind people what that is. Like they are how Nintendo games get into China.
Yes, as well as the Switch itself.
Yeah, and Nintendo hardware, I guess, too, technically.
Yeah, and so, they are the portal because, for any company to work within China, as I've mentioned before, they have to partner with a Chinese company. So, and the major one is Tencent, and they're using that money and they're using the opportunity to basically stretch out and do whatever they want. I mean, so other news is they now have a stake in Sumo Group. Now, you may not know the name necessarily,
I sure as hell don't.
But Little Big Planet 3.
Yeah,
as well as a lot of studios that work under its umbrella. Dear Esther is another. The Chinese room is under the Sumo Digital, the part of their group. So there's a lot of companies working under there. So they've got their fingers in a lot of different things now. So, I mean, that's the thing. It's like they're stretching out. They want their money any way they can. I mean, so yeah, they're going nuts on that. So the other news is they're looking to start making games for the Switch, which is not something they've done yet. They have not made games for consoles. They haven't made any PS4 or anything, So they are looking to enter the console market with help from Nintendo, essentially. And that's also kind of big news. That's a big jump.
Do you think we ever see a Tencent console? They have their own Steam level launcher and stuff now.
Yes, I think what we'll see is a budget level console from Tencent. Like it's going to be a cheaper than Switch. They're looking at the Switch obviously because it's a cheaper system. There again, like I mentioned this before, like mainland China, their currency yuan is like paper money. It's like monopoly money. It's not worth a whole lot on the market. So everything they do that makes money is basically through Hong Kong. And so your average person doesn't have tons of money to pick up a PS4, but they will, especially if it's something that's like kind of cheaper than the Switch, but still does like a lot of games. It's good enough to play at least play a game on a TV. And I think we're going to see something like that, or maybe because they aren't going. I don't think they'll make because they already work with the mobile market, so I don't think they'll be working to make like a Nintendo DS or even a Switch, portable style system. Probably.
So let me throw down a weird idea. Like, do you think they make the idea of the affordable Steam box a reality, where it's like the 10-cent box though instead?
Yes, I think it's going to be something similar to that. It's going to use existing hardware that because they can source right out of China because so much stuff is manufactured there. So they're going to get hardware that's relatively inexpensive and put together a sort of all-in-one system that people can buy for like $100 or something that plays a lot of games in an official capacity or a semi-official capacity at least. So.
It honestly sounds like I should have just bought the Ouya when that thing went belly up.
Yeah. But yeah, that's... So yeah, I think they're going to... I think this might be a sign that they're looking to maybe... Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's a interesting and possibly very true prediction.
Yeah, well, we'll see, I guess. It'll be one thing if it happens, it'll be another thing if it comes out internationally, I think.
No, I don't think it'll be done internationally. I think it'll be a console that exists with basically it's
just for China.
Yeah, just for the Chinese market.
Sure, makes enough sense. But yeah, if you ever wonder just how much money Tencent is worth, now you kind of know.
Yeah.
Let's keep on this kind of weird train. Tell me about the Rune 2 devs, Henry.
All right, so this is a bizarre story, and it's so not a lot of people are familiar with even Rune or Rune 2. It's
I sure as hell ain't.
I mean, it's an action RPG. So I mean, with kind of based in Viking times, which honestly sounds kind of cool. I mean, it takes place during Ragnarok, and so it's just sort of like you hop in and you brutally just rip enemies apart, and it's I mean, maybe it's kind of like, I don't know, tiny Skyrim in a certain sense, but with more emphasis on sort of bludgeoning combat. But in any case, really bizarre thing has happened. And this is unusual. This usually might see in, I don't know. It's alright, so the developer that worked on this game is a developer called Human Head Studios. And so Rune 2 just the day after the title launched, Human Head Studios announced that it closed their doors, and that was their final release, which came as a big surprise to the publisher, who is Ragnarok Game, who were super surprised by it. They were locked. Basically, had already agreed to long-term support for it, as publishers tend to do, And now they're just like, what? And they found out apparently when the public did, which is even more bizarre. So Human Head didn't tell them that they were doing this, and so there's not going to be they're going to have trouble doing technical support for this game if it which every game's kind of going to require that. And it's like, they're a publisher. They won't have access, as far as I know, to the code. So it's like, if it has some major bugs,
I'm not sure who's hypothetically, but
it's like, but I don't know what's going to happen there, because the ownership of Rune 2 is now, it's like up in the air. I mean, Human Head Studios officially still would own it, I guess, in a sense, but they've closed their doors. So it's like, what even happens here? I'm not a lawyer person, so I don't really know, but it's just bizarre, because the publisher was surprised by the news. They're like, you're doing what? We had already made an agreement for like a long-term support agreement, and so
where the
now,
shit do you think you're going, fuckers?
Yeah, and what was even more bizarre is they're closing the doors to start a new studio. So that's even more puzzling. Why? There must have been something weird going on there for them. I mean, something I can't even speculate on what would cause them. Well, I mean, usually it's like when the studio closes down, it's like, oh, I see why they probably closed down. They weren't making enough money or whatever, or something happened, whatever. But in this case, they're just closing down to reopen.
Well, what does reopening mean? Like, is it 100% the same people, or are they missing some execs or something? Yeah, I could totally imagine a world where it makes more sense to get rid of some of the ownership, is to close down and sell out kind of thing, and then off to the right being like, okay, we're starting up with 4 of the 5 original people in charge, and you'll have your jobs again, but we're a slightly different company now from a legal standpoint.
Yeah.
At least to me, that's what this all feels like.
Yeah. And apparently they've come under ownership of Bethesda.
Sure.
That's it's just bizarre. I mean, the reasoning, like I said, the publisher being completely blindsided by this. I mean, according to them, and we can only work on reports that we actually have, they were like, we thought we were supporting this game. I guess we're still going to. They're still going to try to launch it on multiple platforms too. But, wow, that's weird. Yeah, file that one under WTF. But, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Probably more on this in the future at some point, just a guess.
Yeah, it's a weird story.
Yeah. All right. So when this went up on the news, I actually thought we'd already talked about this a couple weeks ago, but no. Epic is suing another tester for Fortnite leaks.
Yep. I mean, it's not unexpected. I
Yeah.
mean, since they already sued one person, they're just going to move on to another person. So, yeah, this tester is claiming ignorance. Apparently, he took a screenshot while testing, and then the image ended up on a Fortnite forum.
Mm-hmm.
So, it got circulated there. So, that's what he's getting sued for. And, yeah, I mean, if they can prove that he did it maliciously and that he actually disseminated the image himself and it wasn't hacked or copied by somebody else, then he's kind of screwed.
Yep. We both work in industries that have pretty aggressive NDAs with some frequency. It is fascinating with some frequency how little people actually understand. No, this is a legal document you signed. Like, don't fuck with this.
Yeah, I mean, I've had to sign NDAs just for an interview.
Yeah, me too.
So, yeah, I'm very aware of how aggressive they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about Xbox now. We got a bunch of Xbox. No, sorry. We have one more Fortnite thing to talk about before we move on from Fortnite. They put Star Wars stuff in Fortnite. By that we mean there are skins now in Fortnite, most notably of which is Stormtrooper.
Yep.
The Disney merger with Fortnite is now complete. Maybe it's just the Stormtrooper, actually.
It might be. I mean, a lot of these things have been like, we're adding one new skin and like maybe a weapon or something.
But also, if you get Fallen Order, which apparently is a fantastic game from the Epic Store, you'll get it for free. So that's kind of cool, I guess. I'm actually kind of waiting for this type of cross promotion to start happening on the Epic Store, where it's like, yo, we got this stuff. Buy a game that we don't have any stake in, but we'll give you this free thing in our big kind of franchise game.
Which is what they've done a lot in Steam.
Yeah.
I mean, I've like, for instance, for a long time there, it's like, if I bought a game, I would get some weird thing in Team Fortress. I have several Team Fortress items that came from buying other games. So that's a thing that has been done. So I mean, I guess Fortnite's starting to do that as well. Yeah, like Plants vs Zombies. If you bought that, like you get a hat, a special pylon cone hat for Team Fortress too. So yeah,
indeed. Talk about Xbox though now. So
all right.
I didn't even know the XO 109 was a thing until news started coming out from it. It's
same.
Yeah, it appears to kind of be Nintendo's equivalent of the Sony Play event they used to do, or the PSX. That's what I'm looking for. And further, kind of calls into question: yo, is E3 gonna be around for that much longer?
Yeah.
But
this is kind of an interesting time to do it in. I mean, it's before the Christmas season, so I mean,
it makes a hell of a lot more sense in some ways to do it now than E3 does in some ways. But
yes, but I see some pretty cool stuff coming out of it.
Let's run through the list, I guess, of things that got announced as part of this. Bunch of games got announced. You've got Tell Me Why, which is the new game from Don't Nod. We'll talk about this game more in a couple minutes when we get through this. Rare announces a game called Everwild, which
looks cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to describe it more than that. Like, is that the tiny one I'm thinking of, or am I thinking of something else? No, this is
like there's not much on gameplay in the trailer though.
Yeah.
It just looks really beautiful. That's kind of all we're getting, and you just see a lot of wild,
a
lot of animals, a lot of like cryptids and stuff, and
yeah,
that's all we really get to see of it. But it looks cool.
Yeah. Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, 10, 10-2, and 12, and all of the 13s and 15 are all coming to Game Pass for the Xbox, which is a pretty big deal. It's a lot of games.
Yeah, that's a big package.
Yeah, I'm also arriving at some point Streets of Rage 4, My Friend Pedro, The Witcher, and some other stuff. As always with these types of announcements are coming that have not been announced yet. So, yeah, it's kind of worth mentioning in part of this vein. It got out there that despite being part of the Game Pass, Gears 5 outsold Gears 4 even though it's offered for free. So, best of both worlds kind of thing for Microsoft going on right now. Because Gears 5, hell of a game, but also people are still buying that on top of that. The Yakuza series is finally coming to the Xbox. You're getting Yakuza 0, Yakuza Kiwami 1, Yakuza Kiwami 2, and I'm assuming the other games that are coming out in the near future will come out to that as well. But more importantly, those 3 games I just mentioned are coming to the Game Pass in early 2020. So, yeah, if you ever been curious about Yakuza and have not owned a Sony console, here's your chance. The original Kingdom Hearts games are coming to... Kingdom Hearts 1.5, 2.5, and 2.8. God, I fucking hate Kingdom Hearts for that reasons. Are coming to the Xbox. Halo Reach is getting added to the Master Chief Collection, which is a big fucking deal for lots of people. Wasteland 3 will be available May 19th, 2020. There's a Sea of Thieves kind of big update coming November 20th as well, which is only a couple days after this goes up. Nexion's Kart Rider game. Is this West of Dead? No, that's Kart Rider Drift is coming early 2020. It's going to come to everything eventually, but first to Xbox. West of Dead, which is a cool art style, is coming November 25th in beta form. This game looks cool. That kind of Killer 7 art style going on. If it's any good, ultimately. Bleeding Edge, we already talked about. Maybe I should save that for now. And, fuck, how many more of these are actually real announcements on this list?
Obsidian.
Oh, yeah, do the Obsidian one. I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, that's a big one.
What's the announcement, Henry?
So it's a new game called Grounded, which seems to be kind of on the survival genre, like RPG-ish. So it's going to be on the Xbox One. But it was made at Obsidian. So I mean, it's very interesting. And it looks kind of like it's narrative around like kids. So I mean, the main characters all seem to be very, very young. So whereas Outer Worlds is definitely something for the adults, definitely like a world crafted and a system and everything crafted for adults. This one seems to be aimed at kids.
Yeah.
And you know what? Not enough AAA games are for kids. Seriously, think about it. Like, Nintendo's really kind of been cornering that market, and this one looks like, hey, survival for, like, kids, for younger players, which, like, still are a major part of the market. It's like, yeah, and I'm like, and I'm seeing the design, and it looks cool, it looks fun, and yeah, I think more AAA studios should be thinking about, hey, you know what? People under 30 also play video games. And people in their teens and such, and even younger, still play video games. So it's like, hey, more games for that. And you know what? Hats off to Obsidian for what looks very much like a game aimed at a younger video gamers. So that's cool.
Yeah.
And it's Obsidian, and you know what? I think it'll be good.
We do seem to like Obsidian here.
Let's see.
Well, so as part of this, they got out there and detailed Project xCloud, or whatever the fuck it's called at this point there. Soon to be streaming service, and no big revelations got dropped as part of that. It looks like it might actually work pretty well, the whole streaming from your own Xbox thing. Still got some question marks around it. But in contrast to what else was talked about this week, kind of the final feature list of Stadia, we're going to transition to talk about Stadia for a second, and how it's really starting to look like the launch of Stadia may be a real thing we'll be talking about for a chunk of time. The big revelation for Stadia is that it's just not going to work the way it's been advertised to. Like, it's going to require a tethered cable, not a tethered cable, an actual cable to your computer and stuff like that for the kind of base version of Stadia. Again, for the non-kind of hockey puck, what's it called? The Chromecast version of it.
Yeah.
Been some major shortages of it. It's still not really clear what you get for subscribing to Stadia. Like, as someone who has this thing pre-ordered, I am just frothing out the mouth to get my hands on it, because this is going to be a real interesting thing. But let's go through the list of what won't be offered kind of at when this thing actually drops for us. Day one, PC Chrome gameplay won't have 4K HDR or 5.1 sounds. Those will come in 2020. How to explain this one? The whole Stream Connect thing, that feature they were loading as like you could like join someone's game, that also will not be available. That will hopefully launch by the end of the year. The state share, the kind of crowd play stuff where you could save your point in the game, that won't be up and running until next year. The Google Assistant stuff won't be super integrated. That it will turn on and off your TV, but that's about it. Yeah. Family sharing for games won't be a thing just yet. There's no kind of achievement or kind of tracking system for that type of stuff in the UI just yet. Yeah. It'll come. It's coming shortly, apparently. So if you do stuff, it'll show up. So that's cool. Yeah. The Chromecast Ultras that are included in the Fortnite kind of Founders Premium stuff are the only way to get to work on a TV right now. The existing Chromecast Ultras will have to get an update in the near future, but won't work at launch.
Weird.
Yep.
Weird.
The Buddy Pass system will also not be working. It's that'll show up about 2 weeks after I get my Stadia, so Henry and Alex, look forward to your Stadia passes like sometime after Thanksgiving, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm increasingly thinking that Google doesn't know what it's doing here.
Oh, this gets worse. Currently, you have to use your phone to buy games.
But
Can't
only
do
Google
computer.
Pixel phones, apparently.
Yeah.
Which I understand to a certain extent because, and I've just run into this in general for development for mobile games, hardware varies wildly over Android phones. So that's a thing. But, yeah.
Yeah, so if you have a Google Pixel phone, you'll be able to use this on your phone, which I'm super excited about to try out. But there's no timeline yet for general iOS or general Android support coming, so yeah. It's coming this year, apparently, but eventually is kind of the general larger scope of that. Like I said, you only have the wireless functionality with the controller. If you have a Chromecast Ultra, everything else will require that actual cable that comes with it. And you only had this very few titles coming with this game. The only original is a game called Guilt, which appears to be kind of a survivally horror-looking thing. You've got, I think it's 3 different options for Tomb Raider. So there's that, if you want to. There's a new estimate for kind of what data usage might reach, and it is potentially 20 gigabytes an hour.
Whoa! That's a lot. That's a lot. That's just a lot. To put it in perspective, alright, so I have a limited phone plan in a certain sense. Alright, so I get a certain amount of data, period, at, like, fastest speed possible, then, like, I have, like, and then the rest of the data is still free. I still get, like, unlimited data. It's just that it's at a slower level after I use a certain amount of, like, basically throughput. Mine is only, like, I think it's 30 or 40 gigabytes before it goes to slower, so yeah, I won't be able to use that Stadia app very long if I have it on my phone. Well,
if you're not on Wi-Fi at least, but yes. So let's put some kind of notes against that. The big ones for kind of the HD 4K signal use, if you will, that's compared to the 15.75 gigabit per hour they were previously estimating. But like if you drop it down to 720p stereo quality, you're looking at kind of closer to 4.5 gigs per hour, which still isn't great.
But it's a lot less.
Meaningfully so, but if you have a data cap on your computer, on your internet usage, like for your general home, be wary of this thing. You can
I know people that do.
Quickly.
Like some people I've known that are like still in rural or more, at least like not as connected areas.
Fuck, most of Europe.
But I'm talking about even within the US. It's just like, but yeah, most of Europe like data caps. So it's like, yeah, you're paying this much a month so you can play on Google Stadia for 2 hours.
Yep. At this point in time, we should expect regular free games with the $10 on Stadia Pro subscription, but there's been no confirmation of what the fuck those games are, what the timeline for that will be like. So,
yeah.
So you're guaranteed to get Destiny 2. a free game, which admittedly is kind of all I care about. We'll see how this all plays out. You'll have about 10 minutes between ending a Stadia stream on one device to swap to another kind of thing. So that whole dream of, you can just kind of jump between your streams from devices, that will be real, which is cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It does sound like, Google's increasing, we're not sure what we're doing now.
It's been a bad week. A lot of stuff has come out that just kind of puts the whole situation of what the Stadia is in big question marks. As someone who... I'm only getting out of pure curiosity and because Destiny 2 on the go kind of thing. It's the dumbest reasons possible, but they're my reasons kind of thing, and I'm in a unique situation where the ability to use a Stadia on a computer kind of mobily has some functionality that maybe other people care about kind of thing. But also, it doesn't matter kind of thing. Stadia is definitely not for everyone. This is purely a kind of dark curiosity. The fact they're expecting you to spend $60 on games you have no kind of way of ownership of because they're on a streaming platform, they've successfully taken the digital market of the Steams and the Epics and made it worse because you super don't own anything anymore. It's even you have no hardware even to download to.
Well, think about this. It's basically the TV model now.
Yeah,
where you don't whatever you watch on your television. If you're using cable or satellite or whatever, Hulu or whatever, you're paying a certain amount, but it's not like you get to keep those on DVD or something or keep them around on your computer even.
Oh no, I'm talking about the fact that you can buy the games through this because you have no physical thing to download to. If Steam ever goes away, you're still kind of fucked. But this is you don't even have a computer anymore if Steam goes away in this instance.
Yeah. So this is even a little harsher than that. And there again, for me, it basically turns it into straight up the current TV model, the TV model of licensing, in that you buy nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there again, I'm a big supporter of the idea of point of sale purchases, and this is just moving further away from that, I feel like. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't like the movement away from point of sale.
Yeah, I think it's
further away, I'd say.
Someone who buys up to digital games at this point, it's increasingly kind of getting more asterisk-y in my mind, and the Stadia stuff is a step too far in many ways. There's no discount to you as the consumer, at least on paper, as of yet, so it's...
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not an especially good look.
Nope.
Especially not leading into this. Especially because Google has a bad habit of, if something fails, they'll just walk the fuck away from it. What happens?
Google Glass. Remember Google Glass?
Yeah, I go one step further. Be what happens if you buy 5 or 6 games in Stadia, and then Stadia kind of flops in on itself? You're just fucked at that point, probably.
Yep. Yeah, and the thing is, at this point, with the various concerns, real concerns that I've heard about it from us and others, it's I'm not sure how many people are going to buy into this. I mean, apparently, their pre-orders are big, but that doesn't tell you about the lifetime of it.
Yeah.
Lots of things have done well on launch and then just kind of fizzled out. That's the thing that's happened. But it's and that's the thing. To maintain it, it has to have those late sales. And if people are I'm not going to buy any more games on this. It doesn't work on my system and the internet that I have.
Yeah,
so
I think once this thing is out there and kind of more available, things are going to get real interesting. I can imagine a world where just some of the stuff that's in the user agreement for it's going to be real interesting to read about online in a kind of more formal setting. I could imagine just some agreements and stuff that's being just real fucking shitty in some really weird ways.
Yeah.
It's the data usage aspects of it have never been fully addressed, and they are indeed a problem.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm so excited for next week.
But yeah, I'd like to wrap back around to talk about a game that was released during the 19.
Oh yeah, we forgot to
19.
talk about that one. Yes, we should talk about that more.
So the Don't Nod, who created the very best-selling game, very popular game, Life is Strange, have
And Life is
announced their
Strange
new
too.
yeah, and Life is Strange too,
And
have announced
Vampire.
their next project. Tell Me Why, and the kind of the bigger thing about it is one of the main characters is going to be
One of the two playable characters. That's the bigger deal.
Yeah, main playable characters is a transgender man. So the main characters are identical twins, Tyler and Allison Ronan, and Tyler is a transgender man, which that's something that we haven't seen represented in media, period. Like, almost never represented, like a transgender man. So, I mean, that's kind of huge, and it seems like it's really going to focus on their lives, so we're going to get a little bit about the trans experience through the storytelling, and I think that's it's not, and they said they're also like, it's not his entire character, it's not like what defines Tyler, but it is a part of Tyler's story.
Yeah.
And they consulted with GLAAD. If you're not familiar with that,
the story here is
GLAAD.
very much like the amount of effort put into being inclusive and accurate and fair in a portrayal is the real story here in some ways.
This isn't pandering. It is both. We're going to have a representative character or representation, but also we're not going to just focus the game entirely on that. They said that's a part of Tyler's history, but not what defines Tyler. And I think that's especially important for him. I mean, his story will include that, but it's not the main crux of the storyline. But it's also not a hastily shoved in idea, just to pander to fans. Blizzard.
Whatever you're getting at, Henry.
So yeah, I think it sounds like it could be a really cool game. We already know that Don't Nod is quite good at telling a story, like their previous games, Life is Strange 1 and 2. I mean, that's basically, they are 100% about storytelling. So I mean, I expect a nuanced and interesting story out of this game as well. And it sounds like they've gone out of their way to make sure that it is nuanced and meaningful and representative. And so I think that's really cool. I think that's really amazing, and I think it's absolutely fantastic news. And the way that they're, it's like I said, it's not a weird pandering thing. It's not a this is that this character is their gender identity. It is, there's a character with this identity that's a main character, playable character in a game, and that's super cool. So I'm very happy with that.
My only concern at all is that I don't think that Don't Nod has always had the best writing to go with it. Like, they have a bad habit of tackling kind of important topics, then not having maybe the narrative skills to play it through. Like, the prequel to Life is Strange, the one where you're playing as a Chloe, I think that's what her name is, the blue-haired one. Had some kind of bumbling attempts at a kind of at a lesbian relationship or a same-sex relationship, whatever the correct term is, and it just didn't come off great, not because it was bad, but because it was badly written. And as someone who played through all of Life is Strange and thought about playing Life is Strange 2 and enjoys those games, but also like played through them and knows how fucking cringy Life is Strange is, it's maybe not troubling they're doing this, but I definitely am a little bit worried they're going to fuck up hard. Because they could do a great job, but good God, the writing in Life is Strange was just like, it made some things genuinely unlikable by the end for me, I guess, at least. Like, it tried very hard to be a teenager, and it got like 80% of it correct, and then the rest of it was, wow, this is real bad. Yeah. But the amount of effort they're putting in, that's kind of the story here. Like, unfortunately, written games happen all the time, for better or worse, kind of thing. There's nothing we can do about that except hope it's not.
But Yeah, and I'm interested in hearing more about what the game's going to involve, and yeah, I think it's good, some good representation, not pandering
Yeah,
representation. So
indeed.
yeah.
What's next? You put this one on the list, so I'm not super familiar with it, Henry. The U.S. Veterans Affairs thing and their accessibility to video games. Do you want to explain this one more?
All right, so essentially, we're getting the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, and they're looking to how, in a sort of a therapeutic sense, how accessible games, like especially like accessible hardware, can help wounded soldiers deal with their pain. And so we've seen this a lot. Like I've seen it researched for in children, in particular, like at children's hospitals, on how playing video games literally can take your mind off of the pain, especially for people that have to deal with a certain amount of chronic pain. And also just other benefits, just psychological benefits of playing co-op games in particular as well. So playing games together. So they're looking for multiple things, but they are looking specifically at like the accessible hardware, accessible style controllers. If you're not familiar with that, it's controllers that usually offer some sort of completely like different and specially designed control scheme, like for how you press buttons or how you go in certain directions. Some of them are like touch based, rather for the joysticks, rather than having joysticks that you have to manipulate, which can be much easier. Some of them are just buttons having more than one way of pressing the button, and easier to press, like less pressure to actually press them down. Sometimes it means hands free, such as like being able to control with your voice and with where you're looking. And so I've seen a lot of work done in accessibility for games, and so now like they're looking for the Department of Veterans Affairs is looking into how it can help veterans, like wounded veterans, deal with their situation, and see if it can help them in their situation, in a psychological sense, and and I think that's very cool. And so I think it's just great that they're like, and the thing is, like, even when we talked about this off air, but it's like, it's so off, it's been, what we've known when we were younger is seeing a lot of demonization of video games. And we're still seeing that now, as, we saw, the Trump administration putting out a really dumb video about how horrible video games are. And whereas we're seeing more and more, I'd say, nuanced and thoughtful sort of ideas about video games and how to deal with them, like, as we've seen with the loot box. Using loot boxes dealt with not in a ham-fisted way, but in a very nuanced way. But here we're seeing, an actual government agency looking at, hey, these could actually be super, super helpful for our veterans. And so, the Washington Post reported on it. And so, it's about, like I said, pain management, and also just staying connected with people. That's why, and there again, like cooperative games. I've always been a big fan of cooperative games. I've mentioned that here on the podcast a lot as well. Like, Left 4 Dead 2 still remains one of my absolute favorite games. I love cooperative games. But and so what they're going to start doing is they're going to start hosting at the DC Medical Center, VA. They're going to host weekly sessions where veterans can come together, play using the adaptive controllers, and that way they'll be able to study the benefits, in more detail, like get a better feel for the benefits that they're getting from playing games. And so that will also help in research about not just veterans, but currently enlisted soldiers on, like how it can help them connect and help them feel and stay connected. Because, that's, again, you're posted in a place far away, it can feel very easy to feel disconnected from your community. And so, it's like, while they're on deployment, leisure time, and staying in touch with people that they knew, for veterans, that they knew when they were still in the service, and now they're kind of spread around the country. the people you're serving with aren't necessarily going to be your neighbors or people that come from the same hometown. So it's like now it can reconnect them with the people that they knew best for many years, the people that they worked with very closely. So I think it's a great idea. I love the fact that they are looking at video games, looking at the benefits of video games rather than just focusing on the bad things about that can be associated with video games. And I think that's a great move. I think we're seeing more of that now as we see essentially younger generations taking more places in government in particular, that where the younger generations are more likely to have had experiences with video games in general and may still play them. And so, yeah, I think it's a great program. I love that they're doing further research on it, and they're approaching from a very positive and nuanced point of view. So, yeah, I think that's super cool. So, yeah.
No, as someone who did the whole shoulder surgery thing relatively recently, getting back into being able to play video games state was a big, major improvement in my mental health. Like, it's being in hospitals suck. We don't talk about that enough, kind of as generally as a culture. It's not the fact that you're in pain. It's kind of there's a tedium to it that video games can help break up some.
Yeah. I mean, there's a tedium, there's a loneliness factor. I mean, there's a lot of different things there.
Indeed. Yeah. All right, last but not least on this week on our news list this week. Holy shit. We got some John Carmack news, and as always, whenever we have John Carmack news, I get a little bit afraid. Like, especially when it's John Carmack being John Carmack as fuck. And our John Carmack as fuck moment this week is John Carmack has stepped down as the CTO for Oculus to get into general AI development.
Which we kind of know this guy's a technical genius. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, he's not a game... Alright, so there's certain people who are kind of heralded as game designers, but never actually did any actual coding or engineering. They're just on the design side.
And then there's John fucking Carmack.
Yeah, the guy who's still like a super genius when it comes to technological development. So, yeah. So now he's going into AI, so expect robotic demons.
Who the fuck knows at this point? This is gonna sound weird. John Carmack has one of those minds. Anytime he gets involved in something, I just kind of assume he's going to figure it out, or he's going to reach some version of figuring out enough that he feels comfortable kind of handing it off to someone. So the fact that John Carmack is involved makes me feel a tad better about AI, but also makes me far more concerned about AI because he'll fucking get it working. And also we find out that John Carmack is just actually a Terminator kind of thing. Like,
yeah,
John Carmack has those moments where it's like, holy shit, you know technology too well.
Yeah.
No more news on that just yet. I'm sure we'll talk about it more in the future as John Carmack builds a bunch of death robots and takes the land that must be taken or something. So, yeah, that does it for news this week. Let's see. I keep fucking up because I had Alex last week. We had an Alex-specific email. I'm like, no, this will be more fun when we're all on the podcast again, and now we're not all on the podcast again. We did get some more general emails. Change of YouTube term services, no. Fuck, you weren't even here for this last week, Henry, so... It's a very specific question. We may change that. We may save that one. We're going to do one email. We're going to do one email, maybe two, because it's just time. Here's the most recent one coming in from Josh. Hello, Wicked Awesomecast. And sorry, I do it the bed. Sorry. If you wanted to contact us, Henry, how would you go about doing that? That's how distraught I am on this topic.
All right, that would be wickedawesomecast@gmail.com.
Wickedawesomecast@gmail.com. Spells it sounds down the show notes, etc., etc. Send us emails. We like getting them. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry, Josh, I had to cut that into that for a sec because we do have a way of doing things that I'm just frazzled at this point on. But Josh's email, hello, Wicked Awesomecast. In celebration of the new Pokemon game that came out recently, I was curious if you three had any thoughts about which was the best starter Pokemon. Just to clarify, I'm not asking which is competitive best, but which one is the one, if you could pick for all possible ones, you'd go with every time if possible. Personally, I picked Classic Bulbasaur since it goes from cute to weird plant turtle into a Godzilla/rainforest hybrid behemoth, but that's just me.
I do like Bulbasaur quite a bit. I think he's incredibly cute in his base form. I might have to go with Squirtle, though.
Mine will forever be Totodile. Because it starts off as a friendly little alligator and becomes just straight up Godzilla by the end.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I kind of I like turtles.
Yeah.
I like Toidles.
Oh no, Squirtle's definitely my strong second pick. It is purely Totodile as a tiny alligator, and its evolutions are just like fucking bigger, more badass versions of what it is. I like water Pokemon. I think Totodile's cool. Gold and Silver are the best Pokemon games in my book too. The first one has the second best starters. The second one, the Pokemon Gold and Silver, has the best starters in my book. It's Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Charmander are fine. Squirtle being the best because it becomes Blastoise. None of them are as cool as the second gen starters in my book, though. Just because it's man, these are some weird ass critters. Neat.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's I only have so much experience with Pokemon games. I kind of, I've mentioned it before. I was kind of a little old when the Pokemon craze first hit. I was in college by the time it hit, and I was and one of my friends was like, "Hey, this is the thing that this came over from Japan. It's going to print money over here."
My unfortunate Pokemon story will always be, and I was not involved in this. I kind of had to just I saw it happen, and it was shitty to watch. The one Japanese kid that was on my middle school, Pokemon came out, and he was just assumed to be the expert by everyone. So the kid was just mercilessly harassed every day by the popular kids for information about Pokemon, and it was just kind of shitty to watch. Nothing bad happened to him, but he didn't even like Pokemon that much, but was no, everyone fucking asked me about this. I hate it so much. And I'm that's fair. You've earned the hatred on this one. Completely fair. Yeah. Froakie for me is a close second, because it turns into the ninja eventually.
But thank you for that. That's yeah, definitely. Maybe you'll enjoy Charlie's very long story, very good review of Pokemon.
I'm not even fucking done with Pokemon yet.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it so far. Kind of like my review of Death Stranding. At this point in time, I am enjoying it still. Yeah. All right, we're doing one we actually delayed on 2 weeks ago. Last time Henry was on the podcast because it sat too long. We've now had time to kind of take a step back and ruminate on this some. This one comes in from Alexia. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. With BlizzCon either happening or over by the time the next podcast gets recorded, very over at this point, I think it's officially time to add the Blizzard Hong Kong debacle to these shit show rankings. I don't think it will unseat the reigning biggest shit shows, but I definitely feel that it will bump DashCon down a rank. So let's consult the list. For those, again, kind of the ranking the ranking is at first place as biggest shit show. We have the Fire Festival, followed by Spider-Man the Musical, followed by the Star Citizen Saga, followed by year one of E3 public tickets. THQ Nordic 8chan AMA, Pokemon Go Con, E for All, DashCon, and Fortnite Live at the bottom in 9th place. This one's tough.
No, I personally put Blizzard number 1 because this is the thing, our government officials talked about this. This made world news. This is literally an international incident.
So did Firefest.
Fire Festival didn't get talked about by our U.S. representatives and senators.
Yes, it did.
It did?
Yes.
I personally, I guess it's because Fire Festival isn't a video game thing. I put it at the top.
Yeah.
I put Blizzard at the top. Because
I personally, and here's the problem. The two metrics that put Firefest and Spider-Man the Musical at top was that in Firefest's case, it was directly endangering a large number of people, and Spider-Man the Musical actively killed people.
Yeah.
This one's weird because, as part of the Hong Kong protest, people have definitely died, but the BlizzCon aspect of it was not necessarily responsible for that aspect of it. I think it's a strong third by that measure, maybe even a second. Like, this is gonna sound terrible. Like, the Spider-Man the Musical one, I've always been surprised it's this high, because I used to work in theater, and accidents shouldn't happen, but accidents do happen. Especially
I don't know. I think just the Fire Festival still only affected a small amount of people. Like, this Blizzard thing is literally an international incident.
As was Firefest. Like, it fucking
not on the same
island.
level. It didn't involve world governments.
Yeah, it did.
And like, not really, not on the level that Blizzard did.
It involves like an actively ongoing giant investigation into it.
Yeah, I mean,
like, that's the problem though too. Like, we care more about the BlizzCon one because video games. I'm happy to put it on top there. Like,
and because it's like involves a very ongoing issue in Hong Kong, which is getting worse. Like, they were trying to basically take over a university that kind of is important to the Hong Kong's access to the internet. So they're basically trying to take control of the internet, essentially all of Hong Kong's internet, by a siege. And we're seeing more protesters being outright killed by police. So I mean, this is pretty horrific, and the fact that Blizzard is still being fucking cowards about it, with their bullshit non-fucking apology.
Yeah.
And the fact that, this is something that I didn't get to mention, that kind of late news that I found out about, is like, the winner of their Blizzard tournament, they didn't even wait until BlizzCon was over to be completely hypocritical about their claims of, we fired them because they weren't talking about the game and they were talking about politics. So what happens with the new Hearthstone champion, crowned at BlizzCon? She literally takes her victory time to talk about not the game and about a political subject, gender equality, which, I'm glad she did. It's a great topic, but that's not about the video game, and it's definitely political, so fuck you, Blizzard. You immediately showed yourselves to be completely fucking hypocritical. Didn't even wait until the fucking BlizzCon was over to be hypocritical, so super fuck you on that one. It's like, yeah, so I mean, I don't know, it's everything about the Blizzard thing is just, like, aggressively fucking hateful and signs of worse things coming on the horizon. Whereas Fire Festival is a kind of singular thing that's kind of done and over. It's being investigated, yes, but we aren't expecting it to happen again and again. The Blizzard thing is maybe a larger sign of worse things to come.
I might go so far, it's beyond a shit show. Like, there's kind of like self-containedness to all the shit shows on our list that are like, that happened, that was a fucking shit show. Like, it almost feels wrong. Like, I'm kind of with you. We're like, it's beyond what this list is intended to be a measure of. Like,
so I mean, it's...
Well, that's the thing. Like, is the Blizzard Hong Kong thing, can you separate that really from the ongoing Hong Kong protests? No, you can't, because one wouldn't exist without the other. And, like, can you really isolate the Blizzard aspect of a larger topic and kind of, I'm not sure what the right word is for this, like, objectively talk about it? No.
Yeah.
Because it only exists because it's part of a larger whole, and it's...
So it kind of, it's like, it's a weird one to even, like, it's like, it's on a different subject level than Fire Festival.
Yeah, like, it's beyond the shit show measure. It's like, it's not shit show enough because it wasn't, like, it was badly handled, but it was handled. Like, the shit show thing is kind of the measure of, like, it was fucked up, but now it's over. That's not where this one's at.
Yeah, and it's probably closest in Fire Festival to its reach. I mean, like you said, like, Fire Festival did basically become an international incident that's being, but while everything else is sort of like, we did this one bad thing, and that was kind of messed up, and it's like, the THQ Nordic 8chan thing, that was one big fuck up.
Yeah, and like, it's one of those ones where there's no confusion to the Hong Kong situation. Like, it's pretty kind of, this is what happens, this is why the handling of it was shitty, and like, the shit show was people not being pacified by Blizzard, which isn't a shit show, it's just like, shit, our corporatingness didn't work. The other stuff on this list is like, man, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, it's just...
Maybe it doesn't go on this list. Like, it's not, it's too grandiose a topic in kind of a, like, just impact way and scope and reach.
I mean, I guess I wanted to be on this because I just want to keep, to a certain extent, keep social media on thinking about and keep people thinking about Hong Kong and what's been going on there and how it's getting worse. And so, to a certain extent, I mean, I think it should be still something that, to keep it alive, because the second the world's eyes are off, the tanks roll in.
Sure, but also, that's beyond the scope of what this ridiculous list is.
Yeah.
Like, that's not tongue-in-cheek. This list is, at this point. This should never be a topic we talk about. Like, remember the Hong Kong protests.
Yeah. So, yeah, the rest of us, is, and I guess the only exception to that is, like, somebody actually dying in Spider-Man the Musical is pretty horrendous.
Yes.
In a play. But, yeah, the rest of them are just like, it's just like an awful thing where, it's not really affecting people's lives. Like, the rest of the stuff is just like, I can find humor in it. Like, and I can find humor in Fire Festival.
I vote to not add to the list in that aspect, then. Like,
but I can't find humor. I mean, I think the way we do the Ranked Chick Show is more like, they should be at least humorous, and I don't find any real humor in the Blizzard thing.
I'm with you on this one. Yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, it's beyond the scope of this list and what it is.
Yeah, just like, we can put that, maybe if, the other list being like, worst company of the year, Blizzard.
And we will have our time for that. Like, the Krampus cast and our
the Krampus
Game
cast
of the Year stuff is coming. Like, it is our place to talk about this shit, and I suspect we'll talk about Blizzard a lot then.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the Ranked Shit Shows is more, there's some humor to be found in this stuff, less so in the Spider-Man the Musical.
That one in itself is
kind of like...
It is sad people died. The fact that it was happening at Spider-Man the Musical, like, in a dark gallows way is maybe not funny, but it's like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of maybe just should be covered under the Krampus cast about Blizzard.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So it does not make the list for those reasons.
Yeah.
How up are you on the Smash Terry Bogard stuff?
I played as Terry in Smash the other day last weekend when I was at PDX.
I'm gonna save this email for next week when hopefully
PMX.
Alex is back.
Yeah, I played as Terry because there's a game room. Because just like with every major con, there's a game room, and actually played some Smash, and I played as Terry, and I was like, he seems fun. I'm guessing he's broken or something.
No. I went on a bit of a rant last week about my feelings about Smash at this point, and we got some email about it. We'll save this for next week when Alex is back, because he was here for that. So that does it for emails this week. WickedAwesomecast@gmail.com. Send them in. That does it. Anything you want to talk about before we get out of here?
All right, so I am on social media as Kraken0, that's ZER0, and I am on Instagram and Facebook, so you can follow me there, especially if I'm going to be streaming. I always post on social media whenever I'm about to stream. I didn't stream in the last week because I guess I just was feeling really exhausted. I spent 3 weeks creating costumes with a lot of my free time, so I was just like, but yeah, I'll probably be doing some game streaming here. I'm thinking about learning a particular route for Zelda 2 called the 100% all keys route. So I'm planning to learn that. So I'll probably be casting that over the next week a bit, and also just sort of talking about next projects for costuming that I've thought about. But yeah, that's where to catch me, and that's what I'll be up to. What about you?
I don't fucking know.
Mordak Undivided everywhere.
Yeah, on most gaming platforms. I'm mad I can't do that on the Switch. I'm just Mordak on the Switch. It's too many characters for the Switch to take. Yeah, in theory, my Stadia comes in this next week, so I'll probably poke around on that if I can do such things. But yeah, no big plans content-wise. We're not set up in the garage yet, and we're working on it. But yeah,
all right.
Live a boring life.
Cue the metal.